Welcome to Morning Listeners. This is Nilima KS, and today we are bringing to you an interview session with Ms. Kristy Gilbraith. Morning Listeners is an online magazine dedicated to women. It showcases various articles, personal life stories, and interview sessions on different matters concerning women. And today, our interviewee, Ms. Kristy, happens to be a veteran, licensed registered nurse, menstrual maven, and the founder of Flowwear. So let us welcome our interviewee. Hello, Kristy.
Hello. Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm very excited to be here. I am located in the States in the wonderful city of Nashville, and it's starting to warm up, but I think we're getting snow tomorrow. So outside of that, I'm doing fantastic.
That's great. All right. So being an entrepreneur can be indeed a challenging profession. So how do you normally begin your day?
Well, I like to begin my day with intention, Nilima, and I typically will do that through meditation. Whether it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I take time really to just ground myself. I don't have a particular place where I go to meditate per se, but I do take time to get grounded because I'm a firm believer that you can't control the external environment, but you can certainly control how you respond to it. And meditation helps set the intention for the day for me to do that.
I like your definition of meditation, and it's true. You might not be able to change everything or control everything, but you can indeed control what you are doing or change the way you could perceive things.
Absolutely.
Right. So, what did you have on your breakfast platter today?
Have I had breakfast? That's the question. I typically break my fast later than most. And when I do, I generally will have a plant-based breakfast, fruit or vegetables. My favorite, quite honestly, are sliced tomatoes. But I've not had breakfast yet, even though it is 4:00 in the afternoon where I'm at. I'm still running on water.
Well, that's something news to me. I haven't seen water till the afternoon, 4 p.m. So, yeah. So where are you from? Oh, you said US. So what makes your destination unique and special to you?
Well, it's interesting. I am originally from the state of Oklahoma, which is considered the Sooner State here in the U.S. And what's unique about Oklahoma is it is recognized. I'm from Tulsa, and it's the second largest city in the state of Oklahoma, but it's also recognized for what's known as Black Wall Street, which is a historical happening here within the United States. But I currently live in Nashville. And what's unique about Nashville is that it's known as Music City. And I would venture to say per capita, we have more country music stars than anywhere else in the world here in Nashville. So there you have it.
That's great. So how are you coping up with the third wave of the pandemic?
So with COVID, it's interesting. As a clinician, I definitely am probably a little bit more aware of how I move throughout when I'm out and about. But I practice what we call good hand hygiene. And so I'm washing my hands for at least 20 seconds, hot, soapy water, doing all the things that I need to do when I'm out and about so that I can keep other people safe and myself safe. But, outside of doing that, it's sort of life as usual at this point. I think we've all kind of gotten to the point where it's this is how we're living. So continue to live life, but just be careful while you're doing it. Be mindful.
Very true. Now, let us move on to some questions about the Flowwear. So how did you actually come about establishing the Flowwear?
It's interesting, Nilima. I would love to say that I had some epiphany that brought me on the trajectory of Flowwear, but that actually is not the case at all. I came up with the idea of Flowwear by undiesloft.com because of a medical condition that resulted in me being diagnosed and having extremely heavy periods that impacted the quality of my life. And I know that I'm not the only one. In the US, 15 million people with periods have a similar condition. And I remember vividly having a business meeting with two customers. And I went to their office, brand new. You literally could smell the paint off the wall, the new carpet, the whole bit. And we sat down, and it was not a traditional meeting. We actually sat down in a semicircle versus sitting across from a table or something of that nature. And when I stood up, I immediately knew that something below the belt was not right. And I was horrified. I ruined their brand new butter soft white leather chair. And as you can imagine, it was horrific. And I tell that story to many people for a couple of reasons. One is there shouldn't be any shame in our physiology when it comes to menstrual periods, even though that was a very embarrassing moment. But also it was a reality that there's got to be something better in terms of managing one's period. And so with that, I made that decision in that moment when I left that meeting that would never happen to me again, ever. And if I could do anything about it, that would absolutely not happen to anybody else with periods. And so Flowwear was born out of that. And here we are 2 years later.
Thank you so much for sharing that incident from your personal life. And I can somewhat relate to it because a similar one happened to me as well when I was in school. Like my skirt got soaked in the blood, and I didn't know about it. I had no idea about it. I guess I forgot about the period state or something. And a teacher came up to me and said, I think you need to go to washroom. Something is on your back. You need to go and check it out. And then I went, and then there was my friend who helped me out. She had a marathon that day, literally a marathon. She went to my class teacher, informed her, went to clinic, and then got me sanitary pads, got me an extra school skirt. Because that day, I guess we also had an exam, so we had to reach on class on time, and she just rushed and bought me everything that I needed to get back on class on time. And yes, so that was like a memorable day for me. And
wow.
Like these, yeah, it happens, And as girls, yes, it is not a shame. In fact, we, periods and menopause are like a part of us now. It's a biological process, and we have got to learn to adapt with it. So again, thank you so much for sharing that incident.
Yeah, no worries.
Now, tell us something about your latest products.
So, we launched, it took 2 years to get to the point of launching. And so with our inaugural launch, we launched 3 styles. I actually have them here, if it's okay to show.
Sure, no problem.
So we launched the Slumber Shorty, which is fantastic because it runs the gusset, the absorbent part actually runs all the way up to the back of the waistband and midway up top. But this absorbs 10 regular tampons. So, which is phenomenal for when you're sleeping. But what I love about the Slumber Shorty is that it's fantastic for lounging around in. This is something I would have zero qualms about grabbing my mail or even walking the neighborhood if I had a long t-shirt. Then we have the Lourdes High Waist Brief, which I love because the absorbency goes from the front of the waistband all the way up to the back, and it absorbs 6 regular tampons, which is equivalent to 30 milliliters. And then our most popular is actually the Cora Brief, and this is actually named after my great-grandmother. It's not only beautiful, but it holds up to whatever life is throwing at you, and it absorbs 2.5 regular tampons, so approximately 15 milliliters of fluid. And I'm super proud of these because just from the feedback that we've gotten thus far, having recently launched, we've gotten some positive feedback, not only from people with periods, but also people who experience post-menopausal bladder leaks as well.
Well, that was great. And I like the fact that you have named one after your grandmother. You also try to relate like a bond with your products. I like the fact.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Right. So during perimenopause, as you are told, irregular and heavier periods occur quite often. So, what are the features of the Flowwear that could adapt to the above situation?
So what's great about Flowwear, whether it's perimenopause, postmenopausal bladder leaks, or even just traditional periods, is that it's multi-layered, meaning that there is a wicking layer. I'll show you here. There's a wicking layer with Flowwear, and then the next layer is actually an absorbent layer that locks in the fluid, and then the layer after that is a breathable leak-proof barrier, which sounds like an oxymoron, but the reality of it is it's a leak-proof barrier with micropores to allow for breathability, so that our consumers don't overheat, especially when they're in that perimenopause phase and maybe starting to get a little bit of hot flashing, but also still, to your point, having heavier periods, maybe longer periods, or even a couple of periods in 1 month, because things are starting to shift with the hormones. But Flowwear is able to accommodate the individual who for sure is going through perimenopause because of the multi-layers.
That's great. And often people complain that when you wear panties, which are like for periods, when they get soaked up, after a while you get irritated over there with the socky layer below you, and so you find it quite bothering. So, is there anything to solve that in case of the Flowwear?
Yeah, so we have a video on our website, on the undiesloft.com website, that demonstrates with the Slumber Shorty absorbing 50 milliliters, but then we go a step further and we actually release the fluid, and only 10 milliliters is released. And that is to demonstrate, and we even put a brick on it, Nalima, and press down on it to demonstrate that fluid is locked in, so it's not weeping back up to the skin. Again, to your point, below the belt, in the vaginal region, we have to protect the ecosystem of the vagina so that we're not getting infections and harboring bacterial growth. And so with Flowwear specifically, the wicking layer pulls that fluid away from the body and keeps it away, so that there isn't any irritation where you're just kind of sitting in your period, essentially. And so that's a great thing about Flowwear.
Yep, that's great. So, how are the period absorbing panties better than sanitary pads or tampons that normally women use?
Yeah, so Flowwear for sure is, when I think about eco-consciousness, is better, not only from the product itself, but also our packaging. What we know, what the data shares with us, is that there's more than 200,000 metric tons annually that get disposed of because of single-use feminine hygiene products placed in a landfill. That will go zero places anytime soon. It's not going anywhere. 90% of sanitary pads are made of plastic. This ends up in our landfills, it ends up in our oceans, it gets washed ashores on our beaches. Whereas with Flowwear, it's washable, it's reusable. Flowwear specifically is made of bamboo, with the exception of the wicking layer, which is made of cotton, because of the data around that and cotton being more beneficial in the vaginal area. But bamboo requires less water and is more quickly regenerated than other natural fibers. And that was a conscious decision when I was designing Flowwear. And so in terms of what's better, for sure, using reusable, washable period undies as an option to single-use feminine hygiene will win every time. But also our packaging is different. Flowwear, I designed a paper packaging. Not only is paper obviously recyclable, but I did it in such a way that it's like a file folder, so it can be repurposed. So someone who's purchasing Flowwear has the benefit to be able to repurpose this as well.
That's great. I like the fact that you're supporting to again bring initiatives that encourage to take up more eco-friendly products like the paper pad and the material used to prepare the panties. So it's interesting.
Thank you.
Right. So during menopause, there are chances of bladder leakage, which is again quite a common symptom. So can the period of stopping panties could still hold on?
Yes, it's interesting, Alima. I probably have about a third of the consumers who write in and say, how they wish they had this when they were younger, or they wish they knew about leak-proof undies a lot sooner for a variety of reasons. But about a third of those folks who are writing in and sharing their experiences are actually postmenopausal women with bladder leaks. They have pelvic floor disorders resulting in bladder leaks. And so that, again, when designing Flowwear, when coming up with how do I make this product different? Because to be realistic and transparent, Flowwear is not the first of its kind on the market. But the idea was, how can I make this different? And so being able to absorb mild bladder leaks as well as postpartum leaks, because there's bladder leakage with that as well, was very important to me. I think when you can keep your products simple and easy and comfortable, people appreciate that. So you don't have to purchase different brands of leak-proof undies under the Flowwear brand. You just pick whatever the absorbency you need in order to manage your physiological leak at that particular time.
That's right. So did you find it challenging to emerge as a female entrepreneur, to bring a new product in the market? And how did you overcome that?
Yeah, so, I'd like to think that no matter if you're male or female, that the challenge is the same. We have to have some sort of a level playing field when it comes to something as women. And so that being said, what I think is easier with launching Flowwear is the fact that I launched it for a specific purpose, to meet the needs of somebody just like myself, a menstruating individual. So I knew exactly what I would want in a product. I knew that I would want something that would allow for comfort, that would allow for me to have confidence, that would give me a conscious option in terms of choices of how to manage bio leaks. And so from that perspective, it was easy. However, I'm not some socialite with a ton of money or a large company behind me with coffers of money looking to extend or expand a brand. Everything that I've built thus far with Flowwear has really been by bootstrapping, blood, sweat, and tears, and pouring it all into this brand and seeing it come to fruition. And that can be challenging. And quite honestly, is every day. And I would imagine that any entrepreneur who's worth their salt would say that owning their own business and creating a brand from scratch is challenging.
Right. So where do you see Undies Loft in the next 10 years?
I see the Undies Loft brand and the Flowwear by Undies Loft brand in the next 10 years. Well, let me back up. I think that's a two-part question. I think there's the brand aspect of it, and I think there's a social component to it too, because that's one of our pillars is education, body positivity, and being eco-conscious. So from a brand perspective, I definitely see us spreading out, going beyond just selling here in the United States. But I also see us being ranked as one of the top 100 undergarment brands, generally speaking, and in the top 5 leak-proof undergarment brands that are out there. So that's what I see for the brand, and certainly building upon our assets, our products that we have now beyond the 3 that I shared. From a social perspective, I definitely see us expanding the programming and education around bio-female anatomy and physiology. As a clinician, it is imperative for me to be able to share with people, young people, and people who have had periods and bladder leaks and who've even gone through postmenopause, that they be aware of their anatomy and physiology, because that's the only way we as people with periods and vaginas can advocate for ourselves. If we can articulate what's happening, then we can get the support and assistance that we need through the healthcare system. And one of the ways that we've already done that now is we've partnered with a fantastic social awareness group relative to periods. Is FEM, oh, forgive me, it's FEM Youth. And FEM Youth is a fantastic social group that educates young people relative to periods and relative to conditions that impact their menstrual cycle, such as adenomyosis, fibroids, endometriosis, etc. And the more that we can do that, the better off we can help destigmatize periods and minimize shame around it.
That was a beautiful message. Now, lastly, what do you think this world needs the most?
Oh my goodness. I would venture to say what I know the world needs most is more compassion and civility. I think if we were to just increase our compassion and our civility just that much more, we'd all be better off for it. Having platforms that bring people together, such as this, Nalima, allows for others globally to be able to come to become a little bit more connected with the rest of the world, to hear voices and see people who don't look or speak like them or who've had different experiences, and to be able to grow. And as it relates to people with periods and people going through menopause, again, that compassion plays into that. That civility aspect plays into that. It wasn't so long ago that an individual with PMS was considered to be out of their mind, was considered a mental condition. And so part of that is learning and being willing to learn and have compassion for others, but also having a level of civility that allows room for that.
That was great. So on that note, I come to the end of this interview session. I really fell in love talking with you, your perspectives about how we should see women with PMS and how we should approach them. And again, with this new initiative of period panties, it's going to surely help many of them, and they're going to love them too.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity to be here with you.
Well, I hope the audience enjoyed the same. Thank you and have a great day ahead.
You too. Cheers.